Nintendo never ceases to utterly confuse me all of the time. So I was having lunch today and I got a notification on my phone from Nintendo, and on the little preview on my phone that I had, all I saw was Nintendo of America, Animal Crossing. And I just thought it was maybe a little, merch update or something like that. No, apparently Animal Crossing New Horizons, the game that has been constantly critiqued for not having enough updates after the original, handful we got. That game is getting another update. It's big and it's free, but you also get a Nintendo Switch 2 edition that isn't free, and I have so many mixed feelings about all of this. First of all, let's just go over what are the changes in the new Animal Crossing New Horizons Switch 2 edition. What have they added to the game to, justify you paying for it? First off, we have the obvious enhanced resolution, although this one's a bit of a strange one because it's cool that it's in 4K, but at the same time, oh, by the way, they didn't actually list 4K and they don't on their website. They just say enhanced resolution. But I don't know about you, but Animal Crossing is a game that I've always really played in handheld mode, and the game is like the least demanding first-party Nintendo game out there. I don't think at the top of anyone's list for Animal Crossing updates is a higher resolution. The game does absolutely fine how it is at the moment, but again, it's only a positive, only a plus, so you can't really complain. Well, there is a cost behind it, but we'll get back to that later. The second improvement is now we of course have support for mouse controls, which, to be honest, as you know, Animal Crossing New Horizons has been labelled a decorating game, and that's why some people love it and some people don't love it, at least compared to the other Animal Crossing entries in the series. Considering all of that, mouse controls is a huge plus, and it's probably like the biggest game I've seen that could use with that from the Switch 2, so this just makes perfect sense. The next item that is new to the Switch 2 edition is the Megaphone. I absolutely love this. I don't really know why, it's not that big of a deal. Essentially, you can buy a Megaphone and it basically enables the microphone built into the Switch 2, so you can call your villagers' names and they'll immediately get startled and run to you, or you'll at least be able to know where they are on the map. And that seems like a really small thing, but it's kind of genius in a way. I feel like that's a thing anyone struggles with is, oh, where's this villager? I'm gonna have to search the whole island. It's kind of like a really convenient thing to have, and it obviously just reminds me of Nintendogs. Maybe that could be a thing on the Switch too, I don't know. But there we have the Megaphone, and the next thing is enhanced multiplayer features. So of course now you've got game chat and you can see, using your whatever camera you're using, people's reactions live in real time on top of their characters' heads, which is really cool. And that is it. And those 4 things cost money. But you know what doesn't cost money is version 3.0, the latest update to New Horizons. It is completely free and probably one of the best updates we've got ever for this game. There's 3 things from this update I want to talk about. There are some little other stuff that you guys can look into and just watch the full trailer yourself. But there's 3 things mainly that I want to talk about. First of all is the collaborations. So now we have Lego sets integrated into Animal Crossing. That's so cool. And I feel like at this point collabs is a staple within the Animal Crossing franchise. And then we have a collaboration with Zelda. So we've had Mario and now we have loads of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom stuff. You can even get Tulin and who else was it? Oh, I forgot. Oh no. I believe it was either Raru's sister or wife, I can't remember which one. 2 very random picks, by the way, but those are new villagers, which is really cool, and there's a whole new palette and decoration theme you can have with Zelda and loads of different items to collect. That's really cool, and we also have Splatoon stuff as well, and villagers based on characters from the latest Splatoon game. So Splatoon, Lego, and Zelda, that's really cool. And the next thing I wanted to touch on was the fact that Cap'n and his family are now back with a new hotel system where you can decorate different rooms in exchange for new items at a new shop. The whole thing just seems really cool and something I wish I had in the game a long time ago. And again, compared to the other previous updates we've had for this game, this seems like the biggest one, and it's coming years after the game initially launched. And I do want to touch on briefly how important this is, because if you live under a rock, Animal Crossing fans have been complaining and being upset for the longest time that Animal Crossing New Horizons stopped receiving updates. I think it was after 2 years. The whole reason and source for them getting upset is actually a false or misconstrued statement from an interview in which a random employee from Nintendo, I believe, stated that the plan was to, keep supporting New Horizons. I think they said like 2 to 4 years or something like that. They gave a range, and then for whatever reason, the fan base I think Chinese whispered that into them essentially taking that as, oh, Animal Crossing New Horizons is going to receive updates for years and years and years, at least 4 years or whatever. So that was essentially just a huge misunderstanding, but I guess now it's technically true, because here we are with the biggest update ever. And the final thing I want to touch on from 3.0 before I get into the negatives, is probably the biggest positive Animal Crossing has ever received in the entire franchise's history. So now, when you go into sleep mode, you can go into your Slumber Island. A Slumber Island is essentially just a brand new island and a brand new canvas to decorate and build upon, just as if it was your main island, but you can just access it by going to your bed on your regular island. And this island, as far as I can tell, just behaves like a normal island, like your base. So it's just an extra island, but it also comes with extra features, like you can choose which villages you want in a menu. You can also change the time of day whenever you would like to. So this is essentially, in a franchise that people don't really want to reset their games a lot. Number one, because people love spending a lot of hours in Animal Crossing games, but it's the kind of game you don't really want to reset. It's kind of like a life simulator. Starting from nothing is quite intense, so people have always wanted an extra save file, right? An extra save they can make a new island on without getting rid of their original. And the only way to do that on the Switch at the moment is by changing Switch profiles, which isn't a big deal unless it comes to transferring that data over. That's going to be a pain. But now, with this Slumber Island, if I'm not mistaken, this is essentially just a new save. A bit more broken. I think you can pick and choose which villages you want and stuff. But this is a new save, right? Am I interpreting that wrong? It seems like that's what that is to me. And the crazy thing is, this is not just a new save. You can make up to 3 new islands, new Slumber Islands. Isn't that just 3 new saves? That is crazy. If this is what I think it is, this is the most pro-consumer thing Nintendo has ever done, and just that sentence is kind of sad to be honest, but it's true. This is just a positive, but it's a positive we've not had in the franchise so far. And it gets even crazier because as well as free save files, you can, with extra customization, you can invite friends to that island and they can actually do stuff. So it's like multiplayer, as if it was their island, kind of like how multiplayer works in Stardew Valley. So you have 4 saves, and 3 of which can be collaborations. Unless I'm getting part of that wrong, but that's how the presentation and the YouTube video explained it. And I don't see any extra details on this on their website. So that's cool. But of course, with all this good news comes some, I want to say bad news, but it's more just confusing news, especially built on what we just had with Pikmin 4. If you didn't know, Pikmin 4 just had is getting a free update. It is not a Switch 2 version, though. Is it a free update? And even then I was a bit confused, how come Pikmin gets a free update, but Pokemon, you get DLC announced before the game's even out and you have to pay for it, and Donkey Kong got DLC just a month after that came out and you have to pay for it, but Pikmin 4's update is free, and Pikmin 4 didn't get a Switch 2 version, which is really weird, and this whole Animal Crossing getting a free update and the Switch 2 version kind of just confirms that Pikmin 4 will not get a Switch 2 version. But anyway, we have Animal Crossing New Horizons version 3.0, a free update. Cool, makes sense. But then we have the Switch 2 edition, which costs money. Now, Switch 2 editions either cost money or they are free. And I guess the argument on the free versions of Switch 2 upgrades, like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, for example, the argument is you don't get any extra content. All you get is 4K and 60 FPS. You get higher resolution and a faster frame rate. That is it. Okay, and that's free. That's, I guess, the philosophy behind these free updates on the Switch 2. It's just purely a performance upgrade. And then you have games like Kirby and the Forgotten Land and Mario Party, I believe it's Mario Party Jamboree, and Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild. Some of those games are really old, but because they include extra content, even if it is like terrible, as a lot of people have reviewed it, so because it gets that extra content, you do have to pay for that upgrade. But this is weird, and it's weird because Animal Crossing is in a weird position because it always has got free updates, right? It's not a DLC type game. It gets free updates, or maybe like one DLC per game history. So it would be weird to charge for this 3.0 update. So you would simply believe or like to think that the Switch 2 edition should also be free, but it is not. So you must therefore think this Switch 2 edition comes with extra content, right? Well, that's kind of debatable. So again, we'll go through the list. Enhanced resolution, okay, that is not extra content. Mouse control support, I don't think that's extra content, right? Like, Concerned Ape of Stardew Valley is adding this to his Stardew Valley Switch 2 edition for free, completely for free. I don't think mouse controls warrants a price, okay? We have the megaphone, which again is a new item, but technically it's just enabling you to use the microphone with the Switch 2. So again, resolution is something that the Switch 2, it's the reason we bought it. Same with the mouse controls, same with the microphone, and same with the final inclusion of the Switch 2 update, enhanced multiplayer features, aka you can see each other's camera now. So those four, again, resolution, mouse controls, the microphone, and the camera, cost money. There's no extra game mode, there's no extra levels, there's no extra update, although there is an extra update, and it's free. So this is just a very confusing and stupid mess. Why is the better content? Again, I spoke about how resolution in any game, you know, is cool, but in Animal Crossing, it's not really a priority. So how come all of this extra content is free, but mouse controls and a camera isn't? I think this is completely backwards, but not backwards because I just think both should be free, simple as that. Where I live in the UK, it's like £4.19 or something. On the top of my head, I think that equates to something like $7 American dollars. So it's kind of like insult to injury how cheap it is. Like £4, you know, it's like half the price of an expensive lunch, right? It's not a lot of money, but again, that's just kind of more insulting. Why do we have to pay for this? Again, the update is free, but Switch 2 edition? No. And again, I'm sorry, this is, if you thought the Breath of the Wild app was a weak, you know, excuse for extra content, then what do you call this? Mouse controls, resolution, the megaphone, which I do think is really cool, but again, shouldn't cost money, and then enhanced multiplayer features, paired with the fact that we just are getting, on the same day, by the way, in January, a free update doesn't make sense. The Switch 2 edition should be free, and I think that price is not only an insult in general, but an insult to all the people who are getting Switch 2s, right? Like, these people have paid for this console that has all of these capabilities, but you're essentially putting them behind a wall, a paywall. Why are you making us pay money for something less than is free? It just doesn't make sense. And we've already bought console, we've already bought all the hardware, it should be able to do this for free. But then again, it is cheap, and of course if Nintendo can charge money, even if it is a cheap amount for a game, they know the fans, they know the fandoms of the game will just eat it up and buy it. So at the end of the day, I guess business is business, but sometimes business sucks, and Nintendo right now are looking like Tom Nook himself.